Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really profound concept from Vedantic philosophy. This exploration comes at the request of the religious studies arm of Energy and Personal Excellence LLC, which was founded by Sachin J. Karnik. And let me tell you, this is a big one. What we're about to unpack might just flip everything you thought you knew about spiritual progress completely on its head. So, what's the central idea we're tackling today? Well, we're usually taught that the spiritual path is all about becoming a better, more virtuous person, right? But what if that very goodness, the thing we work so hard to cultivate, becomes the final, most subtle trap on the path to ultimate freedom? This is a core teaching in Vedantic thought, and believe me, it's a challenging one. Now, for anyone who wants to explore these ideas in a community setting, we should mention that daily online satsangs are held and absolutely everyone is welcome to join. So let's get into it. Let's break this paradox down together and see where it takes us.
Okay, here's our game plan for really getting our heads around this. First, we're going to lay the foundation. The three qualities or energies that make up our entire reality. Then, we'll look at why goodness is so attractive and why it feels like the ultimate goal. From there, we dive headfirst into the paradox itself, this idea of a golden chain. We'll explore how this works through the sneaky good ego. And finally, what it actually means to go beyond all these qualities to find true liberation. Let's jump in.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, with the foundational building blocks of this entire worldview. According to ancient Indian philosophies like Sankhya and Vedanta, the whole universe, and I mean everything from a rock to a fleeting thought to a deep emotion, is woven from three fundamental forces. Now, these aren't just some abstract philosophical ideas. They are the very textures of reality. They're called the GUNAs.
The word GUNA literally translates to strand or quality, and a fantastic way to think about them is like the three primary colors of existence. You know how red, yellow, and blue can be mixed together to create every single color you can imagine? Well, in the same way, these three GUNAs blend in endless combinations to create every experience you've ever had. They're not just out there in the world. They are the forces shaping the very weather inside our own minds.
This chart here lays it out beautifully. Let's walk through them. First up, you've got tamas. This is the force of inertia, darkness, heaviness. You know that feeling of being stuck in the mud, of procrastinating when you know you should be doing something, that mental fog of confusion? That's tamas at work. It binds us through ignorance. Next is rajas, and it's the total opposite. This is the energy of passion, activity, ambition. It's what drives us to achieve, to create. It's the engine of our hustle culture. But it's also the force behind restlessness, anxiety, and that constant burning desire. It binds us through this compulsive need for action. And finally, we have sattva. This is the quality of balance, harmony, clarity, and light. It's that feeling of being in the flow, of peaceful understanding, of selfless joy. It's what we all naturally want more of. So you can see the initial spiritual journey seems obvious. Get away from the heaviness of tamas and the frenzy of rajas and move toward the light of sattva.
So the path seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? I mean, if sattva is the quality of light and harmony, then the goal must be to get as much of it as possible. We're told to eat sattvic foods, do sattvic things like meditation or spending time in nature, and cultivate a sattvic mind through study and selfless acts. And it all makes perfect sense. This is the state where we feel our absolute best, where we think most clearly, and where our lives just seem to flow. It feels like the peak of human experience, you know? The closest we can get to a divine state of being.
And just look at the virtues that blossom from a sattvic mind. You get this crystal clear ability to discriminate, viveka, to see things as they really are. You get a sense of inner and outer balance, a deep harmony with life. It fosters this profound ethical sensitivity, a natural pull towards kindness and compassion for everyone, and it builds a steady, unshakable faith, or shraddha. A life filled with sattva is a beautiful life. It's a state of being so pure and clear, it's said to be the most perfect reflection of our true divine self.
But right here, right at the peak of all this goodness, the philosophy takes this sharp, totally unexpected turn. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the most revered texts in this tradition, hits us with this incredible warning. It says, "Sattva, being luminous and pure, binds by attachment to happiness and by attachment to knowledge." Whoa, just let that sink in for a second. It doesn't bind you through suffering or ignorance, it binds you through the two things we want most in life, happiness and knowledge. This is the very seed of the entire paradox.
So this brings us right to the heart of it all, the sattvic paradox, what's often called the golden chain. How on earth can goodness be a chain? If sattva is the source of all these amazing virtues, how could it possibly be an obstacle? How can the very thing that makes us feel clear, happy, and balanced be the thing that ultimately holds us back from true freedom?
This question forces us to get really clear on what the ultimate goal is. Look, if your goal is just to live a happy, ethical, and harmonious life in this world, to be a good person and make a positive impact, then honestly, you can probably stop right here. Cultivating sattva is a fantastic life goal. But if the ultimate aim is what the Vedantic tradition calls total liberation, something that goes beyond the limits of worldly experience, even the very best experiences, then the picture gets a whole lot more complicated.
You see, the ultimate goal in this path isn't just to have a better, more refined mind. The goal is mukti, total liberation. And as it says here, this means transcending the mind altogether. It's about realizing that your true identity isn't the mind, with its constant stream of thoughts and feelings. No, your true identity is the pure, silent, unchanging consciousness that just witnesses the mind. From that perspective, any experience, even a happy, peaceful, sattvic one, is still just an experience happening to you. Liberation is freedom from the whole show, the good and the bad.
This is such a powerful analogy. The states of rajas and tamas are like those iron chains on the left. They're heavy, they're uncomfortable, they chafe, they rust. It's obviously a prison. You feel the pain of your anger or your laziness, and you want to break free. But sattva, well, sattva is a golden chain. It's beautiful, it's comfortable, you might even be proud of it and show it off. But here's the thing. A cage is still a cage, no matter how gilded the bars are. It binds you to the world of experience just as tightly as the iron chains, but its comfort makes you way less likely to even try to escape. It's the most beautiful prison cell you could imagine. So how does this golden chain actually work? What's the lock on the cage? Well, it operates through the most subtle and sophisticated part of us, the ego. But not the loud, arrogant ego we usually think of. No, this is something way trickier. It's the good ego, or the sattvika ahankara.
This isn't the ego that shouts, "I'm the best." No. This is the ego that whispers, "I'm so humble." This is the sattvika ahankara. It's that sense of I that gets its identity from being a good person, a spiritual seeker, a kind volunteer, a disciplined meditator. It's so insidious because it wraps itself in the language of virtue, which makes it almost impossible to spot. You think you're getting rid of your ego, but really, you're just giving it a promotion to a more refined, spiritual version of itself. This is the classic example, right? You decide you're going to practice humility, a noble, sattvic virtue. You do something humble, maybe you let someone else take the credit for your work. But then this little thought pops into your head. Wow, look at how humble I am being right now. Other people would have taken the credit. And boom. In that exact moment, the ego has completely hijacked the project. It's taken the practice of humility and turned it into a reason to feel proud and superior. The very action that was meant to shrink the ego ends up feeding it.
This little story illustrates the point perfectly. Imagine a teacher giving a spiritual talk for days and days purely as an act of service. It's a totally selfless, sattvic act, just an offering of knowledge. But deep down, that subtle ego is just waiting. It's not waiting for a big paycheck or a round of applause. It's just waiting for one person to come up afterwards and say, "That was a wonderful talk." And in that tiny moment of praise, the ego collects its payment. The entire selfless act gets reframed as a transaction for the ego, reinforcing its sense of being a great teacher.
And this is what happens. You get the spiritual ego. It's that quiet voice inside that creates a subtle hierarchy, thinking things like, "My practice is more advanced than theirs," or "I get these concepts better than most people." Every single one of those thoughts, no matter how quietly it's spoken in the mind, strengthens the sense of a separate, special self. Instead of dissolving the ego into a sense of oneness, you've just built it a more beautiful, elaborate cage.
Okay, so if the iron chains are a trap, and the golden chain is also a trap, what's left? Is it just a hopeless situation? According to this philosophy, not at all. The solution isn't to find a better chain. It's to realize you are not the one who is chained in the first place. The goal is to transcend all three of these qualities and find out what lies beyond them. This ultimate reality is described by the word nirguna, which literally means without qualities. Now, this is a radical idea. It means our true self isn't good, it's not bad, it's not happy, it's not sad. It is the pure, silent awareness in which all of those qualities, all of those experiences appear and disappear. A great way to think of it is like a movie screen. The screen itself isn't violent during a battle scene or romantic during a love story, right? It's the neutral, stainless background that allows all the images to play on it. To realize this self, you have to stop identifying with the movie and realize you are the screen.
This slide lays out the practical path, and it's so important to understand the sequence here. This is not about becoming a bad person or embracing chaos, not at all. Step 1 is non-negotiable. You use sattva as a tool. You use its clarity and its stability to overcome the chaos of rajas and the darkness of tamas. Then you move on to the really subtle work of step 2. You become a detective of your own mind, noticing that little hit of pleasure, that egoic attachment to being good. Finally, in step 3, you let it go. There's a wonderful analogy for this. Sattva is the boat you use to cross the turbulent river of life. It's absolutely essential for the journey. But once you reach the other shore, you don't carry the boat on your head. You leave it behind and walk freely into the new land.
So, how can we bring this ancient, profound idea into our modern lives? This isn't just some abstract philosophy. This concept forces us to turn a really critical eye on the very things we are most proud of, our own virtues, our accomplishments.
Here's the bottom line. The ego is a master of disguise. It will happily trade a crude identity, like I'm a failure, for a much more respectable one, like I'm a dedicated spiritual practitioner. But any identity, it doesn't matter how noble or virtuous it sounds, is still a box. It's a label we stick on our sense of self, and by its very definition, it limits the limitless, qualityless reality of who we truly are.
And this brings us to the final question, the one I really want you to take away from this explainer. What is your golden chain? What is the virtue you are most proud of? Is it your intelligence, your creativity, your discipline, your kindness, your identity as a good parent, a successful professional, or a knowledgeable person? What is that identity that you cherish so much that you've wrapped it tightly around your sense of self? Take an honest look, because that very thing, that beautiful golden chain, might just be the last, most comfortable obstacle standing between you and true freedom.
This has been a deep and, I think, a really challenging exploration. We want to thank the Religious Studies arm of Energy and Personal Excellence for requesting this deep dive into the Sattvic paradox. For more information, you can find the contact details right in the description. Thank you for joining us on The Explainer.